When I was in high school, everyone was playing the most recent games.
Hey, did you hear the new Call of Duty 2 just came out?
Ever heard of Halo 3?
Have you played Left 4 Dead?
Dude, there's this new game called Borderlands. You gotta play it. And me? I was playing most of the same games I'd always been playing on computer, and hanging out over at friends' houses to play their shiny new video games. We were always a console generation or two behind, too, and it was tough trying to find new games which ran on our old brick of a Windows 95. I'd say almost nothing new worked. But if it didn't work on the 95, I could occasionally get it working on our Windows XPE machine. But my point is, I'd end up getting hand-me-downs from friends who didn't want to play their old games anymore. I got games like Majesty, Warcraft 1, and for today's topic, I inherited Delta Force from my old high school best friend. He gave me the CD and this funny little paper thing which you put over the F1 through F12 keys, which would remind you what each number button did. Sadly, that thing got ripped up pretty bad from putting it on and taking it off the keyboard, but it's a fun memory. Also, this was just the advent before I built my first customized computer and we got internet in our house. Just so you know, we weren't in the dark ages long after high school. The internet we got was cheap and sucked, but we eventually got there. Delta Force is a tactical first-person shooter where you play as a member of the United States Elite Army Special Operation Organization known as Delta Force. While a lot of information about Delta Force is very hush-hush, it's regularly used for recruitment and promotional materials for the Army, and you'll probably notice it was very popular in media in the 80s and 90s, with the 1986 film also titled The Delta Force, starring the one, the only, Chuck Norris. I'm sure with all the Delta Force games and films, having a game called Delta Force will be fine for search engine optimization. All the more reason the SEO will be fine since the game was re-released by Team Jade in 2024 with the exact same title. So yeah, if you even found this video in the correct game with an internet search, it's a damn near SEO miracle. At the time, Delta Force was pretty good with pretty average graphics. But looking back on it, you feel less like you're a member of an elite team and more like you're trying to spot the funny looking pixels so you can shoot them dead before they shoot you dead in like 1 or 2 shots. That's a full set of Pew Pews to you.
Bravo, you are compromised. Proceed with mission. I repeat, proceed with mission.
Нам нужна огневая поддержка!
Delta Force's story is broken up between 5 campaigns. Each one is available to play at the start of the game. You can select between Peru, Indonesia, Uzbekistan, Chad, I also forgot Chad, and a Russian place I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. I'm sorry. Novaya Zemlya. Places I couldn't have found on the map when I was in high school, and I won't find them on the map for you as an adult. You can Google it for yourself. As you finish missions in a campaign, you'll unlock more missions in that same campaign. There's a total of 50 missions in Delta Force, which are typically go to this place, shoot all the things. Occasionally you'll need to blow up some truck, crate, or object like an antenna or a satellite dish. A couple of times you'll escort or save a hostage or prisoner of war, but all times you will go to this place, shoot all the things. There is a story for each campaign and an objective you're working towards in each campaign, but I'm going to level with you, I wasn't paying attention to the briefing text before the mission. It was typical action game story stuff. For example, in the Peru campaign, you're taking down a drug cartel. So you have a mission where you'll neutralize enemies, a mission where you'll blow up drug crates, another mission where you'll find a codebook, and the final mission is to neutralize guards around a drug lord's estate and then capture the drug lord. In other words, go to this place, shoot all the things. The first order of business with Delta Force's gameplay is to say, "Hey, I had to fix the game." When I was playing, there was a Windows bar at the top of the game cutting off information at the top of the screen. Not only was this irritating, but it was also hiding important information at the top of the screen. There are a few potential solutions. I followed Steam user Pepperbelly Windows 10 proper full screen Steam guide. Your options for fixes are something called DG Voodoo, Windows Borderless Gaming, and lastly, Wine D3D Wrappers. In the end, I followed the Steam guide, which had me download a couple files to slap into the game folder, and the border went away. Like magic. I really dislike downloading stuff for old games because there's an inherent risk of downloading something malicious. But I really couldn't stand that border at the top of the screen, so I took the risk. Hopefully my computer isn't crypto farming in the background.
Alpha 2 is hit! I repeat, Alpha 2 is hit!
Now then, getting back to the actual gameplay for Delta Force, you are playing a first-person shooter. Movement this time is done with the arrow keys, and the camera controls with the mouse or the number lock directional keys. It was a weird time when not everything was moved with WASD, okay? Speaking of which, whenever I start playing Delta Force, I inevitably reach for WASD and always end up changing the active waypoint with the W key and bringing up audio commands with the A key. Along with the theme of mildly irritating key bindings, let me give you a major irritating key binding. So you'll spend a lot of time looking at the map, which is the C key for some reason, and you'll also be squinting to look into the distance for little pixel men who can shoot way better than you, so you'll be using your binoculars, which is a much more reasonable B key. All well and good. Now hold on to your butts. Which key is between the C and B key on standard QWERTY keyboards? That's right, the V key. And pray tell, what does the V key do? It blinds you with a black screen for a few seconds as your game toggles between different resolutions. Why would you want to do that while playing a game? Why wouldn't you just go into your settings? Do you know how many times I accidentally hit that key while I was going between my map and my binoculars? Delta Force is a tactical first-person shooter, meaning in the time that it takes to switch between resolutions, I can only sit and listen to people shooting at me and hope they don't hit me while I'm trying to fix it. Absolutely maddening. Awful, awful key binding design. They could at least put it somewhere else instead of between my two most used key bindings. There's a lot of key bindings, but you don't really need anything more than your number keys or scroll wheel for weapons, right click to bring up the scope, left click to shoot, mouse wheel click, aka mouse 3, to go prone, arrow keys to move, C key to look at the map, B key for binoculars, and V key to let Jesus take the wheel. If you really want more key bindings, you can always display them with the F1 key. God bless in-game key binding displays. Another key binding you might find helpful would be the G key to display the goal of the mission success and failure parameters. Pro tip for Delta Force, if you've already gone to the place and shot all the things, and your mission hasn't completed, chances are you're supposed to blow up something else or walk into a specific tent or building to check and see if the guy you're looking for is in there. You would need that extra help if you paid attention to the briefing, Carl. But as I've already admitted, I barely read more than the mission success or failure text while playing. But this is a good time to make an army don't know how to read joke, right? Crazy side note tangent. In the game manual for Delta Force, they have an actual US Army promotional advertisement. Old games are wild, aren't they? When you first start the game, you'll make a profile where you name your operative and select between a few faces. Then select a campaign and mission, look through the briefing, which will show you roughly where to expect enemies, what your objectives are, and you can change your loadout from the recommended loadout. 95% of the time I had the M4 carbine with extra ammo loadout. The other 5% of the time, it was a sniper rifle because the map was massive and flat. There are a few different types of weapons and loadouts you can have, but I've already spoiled the answer to the question, what loadout is best? There are also 3 types of weapons in your loadout: a primary weapon, a secondary weapon or extra ammo, and a sidearm. Your primary weapons are, again starting with the best, the M4 5.56mm carbine, which, as I've already told you, is the best weapon in the game. The only reason you'd want to use anything else is for a more powerful scope. It has 3 modes: burst, grenade launch, and single shot. This bad boy can substitute for carrying satchel charges, claymores, or light anti-tank weapons. Give me the extra ammo, baby! Next, we have the Heckler & Koch 9mm MP5 submachine gun. It has 3 modes: fully auto, burst, and single shot. It's also silenced. But once people are aware of your existence in a Delta Force mission, stealth has gone out the window. It never helped me much anyway. Next, the M249 SAW. SAW stands for Squad Automatic Weapon. In other games, this gun is the gun, the beast, the handheld lawnmower. In Delta Force, it's meh. It does everything it was advertised to do, but I never found myself wishing for a SAW when the M4 carbine could handle the mission just fine. It has 2 modes, semi-auto and fully auto. Next, we have the Remington 7.62mm M40A1 sniper rifle. Being a sniper rifle, it can zoom significantly better, but unlike the last primary weapon on the list, you've only got 5 rounds to a magazine, and I never used this sniper compared to the vastly superior Barrett Light 50 caliber sniper rifle. With the same level scope as the Remington, but it has 10 rounds per magazine. And if you're using this weapon, you'll need every extra round you can afford, because I nearly always run out of ammo when I do Delta Force missions with a sniper rifle. Editorial note here. I got these two a little bit mixed up. The 50 cal might have 10 rounds per magazine, but it has less magazines than the Remington. So you'll run out of ammo faster with the 50 cal. But I always thought the 50 cal looked cooler. So anyway, disregard my previous opinion on which sniper is better. I like not running out of ammo more. Your secondary weapons are satchel charges, which let you set down then detonate with the radio detonator. M18 claymores. They're basically mines, but you can set them down in motion sensor mode or radio detonator mode. A secondary weapon known as a LAW, which stands for Light Anti-Tank Weapon. It's a shoulder-launched rocket. And lastly, you can select double ammo load for primary weapon. And 9 times out of 10, this is what I chose. Especially since you can use the M4 carbine's grenade launcher to take out vehicles or boxes asking to be destroyed in missions. You get 2 choices for sidearms: Special Operations 45 pistol or High Standard 22 pistol. Again, I don't know why you'd care which of these you'd use, because if you're using them, you're out of ammo. Lastly, you've got a K-bar knife and fragmentation grenades with any loadout. I almost never use them because good luck running up to a guy with a knife when they've got a gun. But if you run out of ammo, you might need to do that before you inevitably get shot and restart the whole level. And that happened a fair bit. There's nothing more exasperating than carefully crawling through a level, being super careful and cautious, take everyone down strategically, and then right at the end, you get blindsided by some rando yahoo which came out of nowhere. When I first played this game on the Windows 95, I remembered it being way more difficult to play because it was hard to see where enemies were. I was over here trying to echolocate people shooting at me based on the direction of the shots while listening on stereo speakers. I also didn't understand screen resolutions, so I probably played on the wrong resolution and couldn't see anything as a kid. But now I try to set games to the closest resolution to my 1080p monitor. The game's resolution has been stretched to fill my monitor, of course, but my point is, I didn't struggle finding enemies nearly as much as I used to. but on the super big wide maps, I still defaulted to my echolocation ways. And of course, you're still shooting funny little pixelated people in the far distance. You can try to play the action-fast FPS style where you come around the corner and blast them, but you only have a few seconds to pull that off before the AI realizes you're there and blasts you right in the face. More likely, when you round the corner to blast the guy, his best friend will nail you before you even get the chance to pull the trigger. Worst part about getting shot is you're nearly always one hit killed. On very rare occasions you'll survive, but I guess you got shot in your pinky toe or something. But you can know you've exhausted your one and only extra chance. Better hope no one shoots one of your nose hairs. You're a goner, dude. At the time Delta Force was released, it was going for a realistic tactical shooter vibe, which explains why you can't run and gun like in an action game, especially on the hardest difficulty. You're supposed to rely on squad movements, finding your next place to move and get to cover. It feels a little bit silly to say that when you can use a tent for cover in this game. But the difference between cover and concealment wasn't brought into the tactical shooter genre until much later. A last gameplay note for sniping or just shooting faraway targets with the M4 carbine. There is bullet drop, so you'll need to aim the crosshairs higher for very distant pixelated people. That would make a great band name, by the way. Pixelated People.
Charlie 1 is down.
I wanted to include a multiplayer section for this review because it was and kind of is an option, but I can't really comment on multiplayer because, one, I don't really get into playing competitive multiplayer games, so I wasn't going to work very hard to find someone to play with. And two, unless you tweak your game, you can't just jump into an online queue or join a game someone else is hosting to play with people. You'd probably need to do some port forwarding magic or download game software to get it working. And I'm already irate enough about needing to start this game out by downloading some extra files to get the border out of the way. But I do want to note, there is still a community for the game online. Well, at least according to a Steam discussion and Facebook page. Delta Force was pretty popular with people. It seems like every game has its audience and people who grew up playing it. You can still load into a solo LAN game, but it's pretty lonely in this big open world, all by myself. Feels like a metaphor for my time as a high schooler. Hello! In conclusion, go to this place, shoot all the things. I liked playing NovaLogic's 1998 Delta Force 1. But I picked it up as a hand-me-down, and grabbed it again on a 90% off sale. In today's day, there's so many games out there, I don't know what the reason people would have for going back to old games like these, unless there's some kind of clout or speedrunning community. Pretty minimalist story, which you only get in text briefings and debriefings, and pretty standard first-person shooter gameplay. Weird key bindings, though. Delta Force is fine. If you want to check it out, expect to tinker with the files a bit to get it working, but it worked for me. I enjoyed playing it. But if you're not playing this game due to nostalgic reasons, I'm not really sure what you're doing. What are you doing? You're done watching my video. Thanks. Like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Atratzu, and thanks for watching the review.
You'll never know which of these videos are actually going to be seen by new people, so if you didn't know, I've got social media. You should follow the things and join the Discord, and I made a blue sky, and there's probably more there, but I can't think of it. They're all listed in the description of the video. If you use any of them, you should follow me on them. Okay, thanks, bye.
Glad to see you guys. This is Dark Horse. We're on the move to the LZ.